Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is a really lovely rainy day, which is the best bookish vibes, so I am enjoying that. I was able to sit down and read for a few minutes a little bit ago, and yeah, just having the background noise of the rain and whatnot while I was reading was super fun. And now I'm filming my wrap-up video for March. In March, I read 11 books for a total of 3,431 pages. The longest book I read was 396 pages, and that was Artemis Fowl. And the shortest book was 192 pages, and that was The Whole Brain Child. So I did read 11 books, but a lot of them were shorter books this month. 5 books were hard copy, and 3 were audiobook, and 3 were a hard copy and audiobook combo. 4 books I got from the library or the Libby app, 4 of them I purchased, and 3 were gifts. 10 of them were fiction and 1 was nonfiction, so definitely fiction heavy. I keep thinking when I do my wrap-up videos to include graphics and whatnot of working on the diversity book bingo from the Ellen Made Book Club and how my reading is fitting into that. I have been working on my bingo card and participating in that challenge, but I have not sat down to create the graphics or whatnot to do that. But if you have not checked out Ellen's diversity book bingo, I highly encourage you to do that. I think that's a great way to diversify your reading and to be intentional in the books that we are reading. So I will link to her video on that in the description below. The first book that I would like to highlight from my March reading is The Wedding People. The Wedding People. This book, I thought that I would like it. I'd heard basically nothing but good reviews about it, so I thought it would be good. However, I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I guess I just didn't really know what to expect, but I really, really liked this book. The main character is Phoebe Stone, and in the beginning of the book, she shows up at this hotel or inn dressed to the max. She's wearing a fancy green dress, she's got the heels on, and she shows up and everyone thinks that she is here for a wedding that is taking place this week. She is actually not there for the wedding, and we actually find out that she is there because she has basically hit rock bottom in life and the rug has just been pulled out from under her repeatedly. So she is there as one of her final acts. She decided to go to this inn that she had always wanted to go and have one more night at this fancy inn. Everyone else who was at the inn is there for this wedding because it was supposed to be a privately booked inn for this week. So one thing leads to another, and the bride from the wedding party ends up meeting Phoebe and they end up talking, having conversations. So she's an outsider, she's not here for this wedding, but once she meets the bride kind of invites her along on some of their outings and all of these things. And she's able to meet a lot of the people from the wedding party, the stepdaughter, the groom, all of these people. Anyways, I don't want to say too much about specific aspects of the plot. I do have to say, this book does talk about depression and very serious depression. It talks a lot about identity and finding yourself and boundaries and how to speak up for yourself. So it's heavy, but it's also done in a very reachable and attainable way. I did see some reviews that some people thought that it was making light of depression. I personally did not think that it was. There is some humor and some lightness to it, but in my opinion, it felt very real. As someone who has also had bouts with mental health struggles, I, for the most part, really liked the way that this was depicted and portrayed. And the writing itself is pretty easy to read. It was an easy to read book, and there was humor at times infused into the book, but I personally did not feel like it was making light of these important and heavy topics. So it was really good, and I know I've said it before, but I love a story of people learning boundaries and learning to speak up for themselves and just learning the self-discovery and self-learning, self-growth. I love that. So yes, I really like this book. Definitely gave this one 5 bookmarks. Top read for the month for me. I also read Catwoman by Sarah J. Maas. This book was given to me by one of my sisters for our Christmas book exchange that I made a video about, and it was the first book from the gifts that I read. I read probably half of it. Well, maybe that's not true. I started it out just reading the hard copy, and then I also got the audiobook and listened to it while I was reading, and that was kind of a fun way to do this. I really like Catwoman, particularly in The Dark Knight Rises. That's one of my favorite movies. So this was just fun. It was fun to think about, you know, maybe some aspects of Selena Kyle's life and some things that she has been through and kind of her why and her backstory. It was a light, easy read, and it was fun. And it was a good first pick from the list of books that my sisters gave me. So last month, or yes, at the end of February, I unwrapped a book from my physical TBR, and that was The Whole Brain Child by Daniel Siegel. And I was a little nervous about it because I was thinking that this is the book that I had started by him before, but I think it was actually a different one. It was very scientific and a little harder for me to read. This book was much more attainable, and I am glad that I read it. It was fascinating because it's talking about, his analogy is the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. And for ourselves as adults, but specifically in working with children, whether you're a parent or a teacher or an aunt or an uncle, you know, anyone involved in children's lives, that so often we try to engage the level of their brain that is the logic and the reasoning part, while their fight or flight or the reactive part of their brain is already going. So it talks about ways to integrate the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain, how to bring them together, how to acknowledge and embrace the reactive and emotive part of the brain, and also how to invite that into the logic and reasoning part of the brain. So it was really good. It has some sections in there that you can read with your child, with little almost like what is the word, like comic book pictures that you can read these sections for, like explaining some of the concepts to your child. And yes, a lot of helpful ideas and concepts and tips for caregivers and primarily parents. So I am glad that I read it and that I gave it a chance and that I marked it off my TBR. Okay, so those are the only books I'm going to highlight from my March reading. So let me talk about the books that I am currently reading. I am halfway through this book, The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. I don't remember where, oh, that's where. I was like, where did I even hear about this? So my oldest, he is in middle school, and he has been saying that he really wants to read horror books, so, which is not my genre. So I was just trying to find some like spooky or creepy or horror middle grade books. So I'm about halfway through. It's not what I was expecting, but again, I mean, this is not my typical genre. So I'm still trying to decide what I think about it. I'm enjoying it, but we'll see. I'm very curious as to how it is going to wrap up. I have just started Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I think I literally have only read one chapter so far. My sister has been telling me I need to read this for so long, so I'm excited to jump in. And I feel like I'm not like a huge fantasy person overall, and so I feel like that's a genre that I really just need to space out my fantasy reads. So I read Onyx Storm, and I just needed some space before starting this. So I feel like I have had that space, and now I'm ready to try another fantasy book. So I am working on this one. And then I am so excited because on April 1st, I went to my local bookstore and I bought Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. That was release day, and it was so fun. I've never gone to a bookstore on a release day to buy a hard copy, so it was just a fun experience, and I'm so excited to have her book. I have already started it. I'm about 100 pages in, and I'll be honest, at first I was like, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna like this, but it's definitely picking up. It's giving me the Abby Jimenez vibes that I like, and I love how she tends to have what I would consider very dialogue heavy books, which I feel like can often be done not as well, but she can pull it off, and I am really enjoying that aspect. And I really just I love her characters, and I love that I love the depth that she can bring to her romance books. So I still 100 pages in. I'm not sure it'll be my favorite, but there's so much space left in this book, so we will see what happens. I am very excited to keep going on this one. And then I am still working on Les Mis. This is one of my books on my 40 before 40 list. I think I'm still pretty early in, 20 or 30 pages, so obviously I still have a long way to go, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the writing itself and just being introduced to characters, and yeah, so I'm excited to keep working on this. So my TBR for April, my book club picked Paradise on Fire by Jewel Parker Rhodes. I have started that. I'm maybe a quarter of the way through. I got that from my library, so I'm working on that. And I also joined a new book club, and I'm excited about this one because we're not necessarily reading a book every month. We're doing probably every other month, which will be nice to still have the reading support experience and reading books that may not necessarily be in my typical genres, so that will be fun, but we'll just have a little bit more time to read. So the book we're doing for that one is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and I think I'm almost halfway through. That's another one I started on a hard copy from the library, but then it was due, so now I am finishing it on audio. And I am going to unwrap another book from my physical TBR. I actually wrapped up a few more books recently because I had some books that I was like, I haven't gotten to them yet, so I'm gonna wrap them and put them in the running for my physical TBR. So we will see what number I pull. I find it so interesting that so far on the months that I've done this, I feel like most of the ones that I've pulled have been nonfiction. So we'll see if that trend continues or if I like this one, or if it is a fiction. Let's see. Oh, number 1. How fun is that? Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. I think this is a Christmas book. 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. One of my friends gave this to me, so I am looking forward to reading this. When perfect strangers Noelle and Sam meet by chance during a blizzard and spend one perfect evening together, they think they'll never see each other again, but fate seems to have different plans. Okay, so we broke the trend of nonfiction from my physical TBR. So yeah, that is my reading. That's what I'm working on and we'll be going into for April. Let me know in the comments, what was your top read from March? Mine was definitely The Wedding People. I really enjoyed that book. And until next time, happy reading.